If you knew me before, you wouldn't even look my way. If I had the nerve to speak, you wouldn't hear what I say. Time has come and gone so fast, we're not who we used to be.
And welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Buddy. Buddy, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure to be here.
How did you get started in your journey in music?
Oof. I think like a lot of us, definitely I needed an escape when I was younger, whether or not I realized it, whether or not it was an emotional outlet, a byproduct of situations that I was in. But I think it was probably around the age of 15 before I actually put it towards an instrument and put the work in. But I remember songwriting when I was like 5 years old, and just writing pages of lyrics that were not great.
Right?
But yeah. Interesting how that works, right? We put our emotions and our heart into our work when we're younger, without kind of realizing exactly what we're building at that point in time. And it's pretty cool to see the evolution of ourself when it's cultivated. Well, in any manner, I guess, suppose. But it's just so interesting to see the growth that can result from such pain. And I'm a stubborn optimist these days too. So it's not like I promote trauma necessarily at all. But it's a curious paradox, I think, the beauty that comes from it.
I can't agree more. And it's interesting that you say that, because it's like, if you look at my musical tastes and the music that I love that music that is born from trauma. Music that's born from overcoming significant obstacles in people's lives, because I feel like a personal connection to that. And I completely see what you're saying. Like, at 5, you just haven't been through enough life to come up with those life-changing sort of lyrics.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of a concept as well. When I was younger, I would write lyrics, and I mean my early 20s, that I didn't live yet.
Yeah.
And then I would find that I would end up living all of the lyrics that I wrote really emotional stuff that was just not happy, like really depressing stuff, right? So it's like a form of self-manifestation. We see what we look at, right? We create whatever our thoughts are consumed by. So I thought it was really interesting to see that without those experiences that I had had written what I wrote into. And by that notion, I think we're so efficacious in designing our own path in life that we could go the other way, obviously,
Yeah.
and fine tune some stubborn optimism and write a beautiful life for ourselves as well.
100%. But I also view like the muse as a living thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you view the muse as a living thing, the muse may know what's to come.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? My songwriting has definitely changed throughout the years, and not just songwriting, but creativity in general, allowing myself to drop my walls. Even after studying music in school and after performing for years and having to removing all of the boundaries and rules and being completely vulnerable is really where it all comes from. And so that's kind of what I tend to aim for is every time I play or perform, I try to more genuinely translate my heart is essentially what.
I think people can feel that in the performance, right? I think that there's something to, like, I always look at being vulnerable as a superpower. Like, if you have the ability to be vulnerable and lead with vulnerability, it leads to way more robust conversations, way more robust, like, life experiences, like, all the way around.
Yeah, you grow so much more as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, right? I think I have a song that I wrote. It's about strength and vulnerability, and so it's just a curious lyric about it takes a strong motherfucker to be this vulnerable.
Yeah.
and then I try to bring it as a group. It takes some strong motherfuckers to be this vulnerable, because it's true, right? Strength and vulnerability. It's a willingness, and once you I feel like once you practice enough of it, enough transparency with yourself as well, um, it's just it's so liberating that I can never imagine going back.
Yeah.
You know, and you do realize the superpower that it is, and what we gift one another when we're willing to be vulnerable with somebody else. You know, it's the toughest thing that exists, I believe. You know, just removing all your walls and being present with somebody.
Because there's a cost involved too, right? There's a risk and a cost.
Risk, yeah.
And I not necessarily, maybe cost isn't the right word. I think risk is more the right word.
Well, it's like uh, I think ambiguity might be a good
Yeah.
word for it. You know, you're just not too sure of what could happen from it. You know, it could maybe put you in a state that puts you emotionally vulnerable and maybe relive some trauma that you've already known, and the bravery to do that is part of why it takes courage.
So if we circle back to sort of your origin story, though, do you remember the first time you picked up a guitar?
Um, that's funny. Took me a quick second. You can see. Um, yeah, I had this best friend that lived down the road from me, and his parents were really great, and they kind of took me in. I was like the kid from up the road that would come down, and his dad was a musician and played, and so I would go over there, and he had this guitar, so he showed me my first chord progression, and I think it was closing time. um, so the very first chord progression I ever learned, and I get home, and there's a guitar waiting for me on my bed. Like
What?
he had gifted me an acoustic guitar for my first guitar ever, and I was just like, "What?" That was super amazing for me when I was younger. So yeah, probably around 15 with that. But honestly, my grandfather was a jazz musician, and I didn't know him as a jazz musician. But it is interesting how things tend to skip a generation.
Yeah,
How something about that blood. I'm not sure.
I can relate to that in so many ways, but we're not going to get into
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Deviations for days, for sure. Yeah, but I mean, even as uh, spectrum wise, even as young as 4 and 5 and 3, I remember matching the pitch of the vacuum that I would hear when I was a kid. So it's interesting how it manifests itself too, like from an early age, pitch matching or just that. I'm really sure how to express it, but it's a medium of sorts, I think.
Yeah.
But I was terrible. I would annoy my family so much. My sisters would be like, "Shut up! You sound terrible." Uh, so I think being willing to be so bad at something for so long is the secret to being great.
Was there a point where you started realizing that, I'm pretty good at this?
Uh, there was a point where I thought I did, and I was in a punk band, and it was like our first show, and my friend's mom was like, "Maybe you shouldn't play guitar and sing at the same time."
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, and I was like, "Oh, really?" Because that was the first time that I'd heard that, and I think I was 16, maybe 15, 16. Um, so I definitely know, like, being humbled, thinking that. But it was down the road a little bit more. I try to be as humble as I can about it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think just the love that I get from people, it gives me. I don't want to say I'm good. It gives me a sign of what's happening. Of the message that I'm giving, or the quality of expression that is being received. I think. Yeah, I don't know, but all the time, I just really appreciate everybody's receptivity, and they always have wonderful things to say, and I can thank people enough.
And the reason I asked that question that way is because I've been doing this for a minute now, and 99.9% of musicians that come through here and I ask that question, they all basically say the same thing that you say.
Oh yeah, yeah.
100% of
I
the
like I
time.
like to be with everybody on
Yeah.
that, apparently.
Humility and being humble. I love it.
Oh, well, I mean, like anything in life, right? At least maybe I believe, we know what we truly know is the opposite of what we don't know. So if you
Yeah.
expose everything you don't know, the byproduct, everything that's left is what you know, right? And so if you just admit that you don't know much of any, like it's not that you don't know much, you just have realistic expectations of the reality of logic,
Yeah.
right? And you don't necessarily impose all of your own bias, right? But with stuff, with activities like music and like language, when you have to correct yourself, you have to do it a certain particular way. You can't continue forward in your own bias necessarily, and you obligate yourself that correction. I think that humbles you. You learn to see past what you think you are. Not every, not always. I mean, okay, this is
Yeah.
relative generalization, but I think when we reshape ourselves through obligatory correction in that sort of sense, and it does humble us along the way, and it is, and the more that you gain, not that I'm necessarily intelligent or anything, but the more that you gain certain knowledge, the less you want to make someone feel bad about not knowing the same things.
And I think I have an example of that. And it kind of ties into neurodivergency because I was on stage once and I used the term nonverbal. And I got off stage, and a gentleman who was non-speaking came up to me and with his assistive device told me like I can understand you. I can communicate through this device. I'm not nonverbal. I just can't speak. And ever since that day forward, I will never use that term nonverbal. I will always use non-speaking when it comes to non-speaking neurodivergent people. And that growth mindset allows you to sort of like, I didn't realize I made a mistake. I
Oh yeah,
own
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And now that I own it, I commit to not doing it ever again. It changes you as a human being.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely, I think the more experience in life you gain, the more friends that you have, the more love that you have out there, the more you would don't want to make your friends ever feel bad, right? So that conscientiousness is a direct byproduct of life experience, and so the reverse is apparent when it occurs.
Yeah.
So I try not to dislike or hate or any of those sort of things. Just understand that others haven't necessarily been blessed enough to understand the reciprocity of love, and what it means to have life experience and so much love in it that you don't want to make your loved ones feel bad. And I don't know, but kind of also touching on what you had said about that words they're just attempted mechanisms at expressing this unexpressible endless state of emotion that, and so literally every word is just is something we made up. So our entire existence came before that. So living without words is us, and there is so much that's said that we share, and that words diminish completely and utterly. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if that's. It's definitely something that I deal with, and when I try to express myself the way that I feel, I have a hard time putting things in words because there's so much more, so much bigger than words. So I could only imagine the depth if I weren't. And it's not necessarily the same, I know, but some seemingly limitations would potentially grant us depths of existence that maybe are diminished, like for us, because and I don't mean to sound on myself within that. Obviously, we're all very capable, and we exist within our thoughts. Is all
Yeah.
is all I mean.
Yeah.
But but it's just so there's just so much more.
Like words only come up. Words are only a small slice of what it means to be human.
I think that's why I love music. It's not the words, it's the intonation, it's the community, it's the synchronicity, that vibration that's been timeless with us. You know? So yeah, translation of the universe too, perhaps.
I can appreciate that because if you think about it, and just how for lack of a better term, miraculous music is in general. It's just like, if you think about the idea of a band, right? Five people with five different energies, five different thought patterns, but for a moment all get on the same stage and in unison put out this piece of music that would otherwise be unable to exist without the collective of five individual independent thinking people. That's a miracle every time.
We're such a cooperative species, like, and that's like our greatest gift. And maybe it could be the opposite sometimes too.
Yeah.
But our ability to come together in an amicable, more than an amicable fashion. But yeah, just no words, right?
Yeah.
We're pretty amazing. Like all life is amazing, but humans got something going on that's definitely unique.
Couldn't agree more. And in terms of like when you structure your songs and like with the lyrics and stuff like that, and like just circling back to the muse, it, what do you do when the muse visits you? Do you like have a recording? Do you have like a piece of paper on standby?
You know, the evolution of writing for myself is not forcing things. Right? Is sometimes I'll go 8 months or a year, and then all of a sudden everything will hit me, and I'll write 12 songs, and I will have, you know. But I like to go up in the mountains or to the river. I do a lot of songwriting out just one on one with nature or source or what have you. But all the life around me really inspires me, and being part of that environment, it just feels right. It feels natural, and I can feel a wave change, and then it allows me to remove my walls and say the things that are inside that I might not have realized were there, you know. And it takes a while of getting it out, and before the good stuff comes out sometimes, right? So a willingness to not say perfection, you know,
Yeah.
like everything isn't just lose perfection. Don't worry about it, you know, just genuinely be our beautiful selves. And that is perfect right there. And I think that's the secret to great artists is they're not trying to be anything other than genuine, you know.
And I think those are the kinds of artists and those are the kinds of performance that bring me the most joy. Is when the artist is singing from the heart with personal experience and lyrics and music that they've written themselves. And just something about that for me is just like perfection on the stage. Even though, you know, it's not perfect, I like it when it's not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, what is perfection other than harmony?
Right. Yeah.
Operational definitions of words again, right?
Yeah.
Also, the word perfection and perfect literally does not exist, right? So that being said, what does it really mean to be perfect? You know, like, I think that's pretty close, right? Just unguarded, strength and vulnerability. We each are so efficacious and so strong, and if we can be graceful enough with ourselves and patient enough to see what those are. I just wish that on anybody to discover that, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's totally in being an artist. Yeah.
And then as you're on stage, like how do you keep your emotions in check when you're singing like a song that has this special emotion?
Well, I mean,
connection?
that's one of the perks of playing solo. I play solo so much because I change it. I do what I feel.
Yeah.
So I haven't brought a set list. I don't know the last time I brought a set list. I play 3 hours to 4 hours, 2 hours, doesn't matter. But I never have a set list because I don't like to be a robot, and it is nice to be whatever your genuine self in that very moment is, you know. So change a song a little bit that you've done a certain way, and it's only really been the last 2 to 3 years I've allowed that for myself, really, like performing. Maybe 4 years where I tried new things that I never would have thought without worrying about messing up. And then sometimes coming up from the stumble is where the beauty is. You know, I could never replicate the things on purpose that I accidentally created.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that.
Can you think of a song that sort of was accidentally created that way?
I mean, most of them anymore. The last couple of years, like I'd say that I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to write this song.
Yeah.
You know, I just let it come out, and that's the only way that I feel write in it anymore. You know, the songs, let the songs write you, I suppose.
And do you have the music come to you first, or does the lyrics sort of come to you first?
That's changed too throughout the years so much. You know,
Interesting.
I used to be more strategic in it, and now I'm open to the process however it wants to be shown to me. So sometimes it'll just be a melody I'm singing, and then I'll think of the chords in my head. That's one thing that's cool about music theory. You know, you can hear the chords and you can understand the numbers and patterns in your head. So you don't need a guitar to write music for something. But then the other way around, you know, I still do like to just write a chord progression and just start doing something weird, you know, and like make weird noises and see what happens, and then just pour out a stream of consciousness that I didn't even know was in there, you know. But yeah, I think the willingness to remove our walls of structure when it comes to that, it could give us some pretty solid insights to ourselves and our soul. I think.
And so when you're playing, do you play mainly acoustic, or do you like to sometimes like sort of shake it up and bring an amp?
I play acoustic, but I have my PA system, and I do like to use a loop pedal oftentimes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I'll loop over either some guitar or like a beat or harmony or all of the above. And sometimes too, there was a while I'd bring a cello around and a nice weighted keyboard, and then loop those over and then play guitar and sing over the top of that. So sometimes I like to mix it up a little bit, but I do enjoy just being raw and pure, you know, and not having distractions to keep me from, you know.
How'd you pick up you said the cello, right?
Yeah. I not necessarily. It's not my instrument.
Right.
This was a number of years ago, and I haven't played it in a number of years. But music theory is universally applicable.
Yeah.
Particularly Roman numeral analysis, so it's numbers instead of letters. You pick up any instrument, and if you apply Roman numeral analysis, then it's universally applicable. So instruments might be tuned differently, but it's just like mathematics. It's an attempted derivative of the language of the universe, right? Kind of. So
Yeah.
music is just that as well. Whatever the instrument, whatever anything is, it all exists already as it is.
Yeah, because one of the things that I have found, and I only recently discovered this, but the more complex the music, the more I enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's one of those things where I didn't realize that was like my barrier to entry to a lot of artists.
Yeah.
But since I've gone down this journey of music, and I have learned more about music theory, and I've learned more about numbers and counts, and like my whole eyes have been open to all kinds of music, that I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't informed.
It's fun when you kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And you understand what's leading where, and the value of the pivot.
Yeah.
Everything in context.
Yeah.
Right. So this chord alone sounds like, what is that? That could sound strident and obtrusive. And then the next chord comes and this beautiful resolution occurs, and you're like, whoa, now I understand that chord that made me cringe terribly because it brought me this euphoric moment. Like, and so is life, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding the more the complexity of music kind of gives you some insight into that. Because for me, like eating, right? If I understand what I'm eating, then I know how to have my palate receptive to it, and then I can enjoy the meal much better, right?
Yeah.
Same with music, I feel. But in contrast to what you had said, I love simplicity anymore. I think a lot of times, you know, we get as an artist, at least, we want to make things complicated, and we want to make things so uniquely complicated that nobody's ever done before somehow, right? I'm going to do this amazingly complicated thing that I'm the only person in the whole world could ever do, right? I think that is the death of art, you know, not necessarily, I mean, but I think for me, at least, that strays away from the point. But everything in context too. So I believe in ebb tide.
I get that.
But I do like to toy with writing music off of one note to humble myself.
Interesting.
Like, and then throw everything in, and not just necessarily one note, but like maybe one note per chord, right? Rather than playing like fully diminished seven chord to a two dominant seven chord, which is a secondary dominant, and resolves accordingly. Cool, that stuff's fun. But if you could, like, the universe is simple, right? As we go back to origin and everything, always it's simplification, 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 right? So the origin of source or whatever isn't necessarily complicated, and so sound and vibration, and I love it's just beautiful, Starts here and then it goes here and then it grows into so it's really beautiful to see what you can create from a single line.
That had to have been an epic journey. I'm just trying to wrap my head around a note, around a single, around a song, around a single note.
Well, like for me, I wrote a song a couple months ago that it was kind of that for myself, and I'm just playing thirds. So I'm
Yeah.
just playing acoustic thirds, I love all these jazz chords where I'm using every finger in every cool way, and I do write music with that, and I love playing it. But
Sometimes you need that simplicity to convey a message.
because how many little turd heads out there are just trying to be the best, and it's like humbling, like
Yeah.
humble, like. And I love everybody, so I don't really think anybody's a turd head. But to me, unity with like health or longevity and happiness, it really does come from simplifying matters and not shutting out the noise, but completely diminishing it and dissipating it to that simplicity, and that's where healing I feel like begins.
So basically, in essence, if I'm hearing you correctly, you want to give space because the sounds of negativity are still going to exist. It's just not paying attention to them, which is
Oh
different
yeah,
than trying to block them out.
yeah, interesting, right? What sounds create that half pitch strident or the tritone, which is like the most unstable interval that there is. Um, like I said, it's all in context, so that's going to vibrate to this next part that resolves. And understanding music theory is great like that because, like a five chord to a one chord or anything, there's just that tension that occurs. Um, but yeah, it's just curious to see how
Yeah,
it all replicates reality, I suppose.
and I can see like a brain momentarily getting like caught on that sort of a note, and then sort of like there's an agitation there in the brain, and then once that other note that's sort of like you're talking about, the brain's like, I
Well,
get it.
yeah, anything forced
Yeah,
is forced. So how much of that is forced? What surrender brings synchronicity. Surrender brings harmony. Now we're together.
yeah.
You know, uh, um, but unnecessary noise that isn't necessarily. I do struggle. With cognitive distance, of course, definitely. Music wise, it is curious the evolution of being a songwriter and of evolving philosophically and spiritually, because there's so much music I've played in life that I do not want to perpetuate anymore. You know, I don't wish to teach people pain. And so much of our music, it is necessary because some of us, we don't know how to feel that pain we need to move through. So we use music to emote by listening because we didn't realize we needed to feel that and now we got it out.
Yeah.
But it's a slippery slope once you normalize emotionalism. And so I played a lot of like emo music when I was younger and just creating the same narrative over and over again. And so there's a lot of music that I've written and a lot of music that I've covered that people really love and I could still play, but I don't feel genuine playing it anymore because I don't want to make other people hurt, like as I had said. So it's kind of, I have that same cognitive dissonance with music in general and the complexity of music as we were just previously speaking, going out in nature and one toning it,
Yeah.
being aware of all of the possibilities and stuff. But I think the more that I've ventured towards a journey of health, and my perfect formula for that is what brings me there. I my allegiance is, if I really kind of believe if we all had an allegiance to our health in a particular way, that's like kind of a cure all, to a certain extent. And so I think all of my fields have kind of molded to that allegiance, I suppose. So same with music, contributing to the happiness and health of others is all I ever want to do in life. You know,
I appreciate that a lot because one of the things that started for me started this podcast is because I got tired of all of the negativity and the focus towards everything that's wrong with this country. And I wanted an outlet where you can actually have conversations, with musicians about music instead of who they're dating. I want to have a conversation with people with nonprofits about how we're supporting humans instead of there's a problem here or there's a problem here. Like, no, I want to talk to the people that do the solutions. I want to talk to the people that make the music. I want to talk to the people that are like in the trenches doing what they can to improve society. And because I think that's at this point, it's so much needed. Like
that's
positive messaging is just so much needed.
I like to call that holding the light.
Yeah.
Living source rather than reactively, not reacting to all the. There's a million things that we can react negatively about and focus, but whatever we look at is the life that we create. We create the reality that we expect. So if we expect crap, if we, and like anything, our body wants to replicate something that we've done long enough, right? So if you do that long enough, then you don't realize you crave it. You crave that negativity. You crave, and then you bring others into that environment, and it's this whole toxicity that, by way of physics, distracts from solutions completely and utterly. So everything is what you look at. So if you look at the solutions, then that's what's going to happen. You're going to solve problems. But if you only look at the problems, you become what you fight. Every time you become what you fight. It's only a matter of time.
And it's only a matter of time when it impacts you as a human.
Yeah. We're beautifully fragile, and so strong.
It's an interesting dichotomy in that regard.
Yeah.
Because we are so resilient, yet so prone to mistakes and issues and problems.
Yeah. I think, life for anybody, however they want to live it, if they're not harming somebody else, right? But yeah, lost my train of thought a little bit.
No worries, because you're absolutely right. Like people should be allowed to be their authentic selves. And if you're able to be your authentic self, this world is a better place. Just because we spend so much time judging people. And most of the time when we judge people, you're judging them based on limited information that you only have for 20 seconds of knowing a person. And like, how can you define somebody and make judgment of somebody that you've only met for 20 seconds?
We're all such complicated, fluid mosaics of emotion and humans. So like to think that we're one way all the time too is ridiculous also, and that we're not ever changing in every moment as well.
And the whole idea of the things existing outside of each other, right? Like there are myriad of examples of they're not mutually exclusive is what I'm saying. Like things in duality can exist in the same plane, in the same lifetime. And so when you have that all or nothing thinking as well, it gets in the way of being open to other ideas and other sort of vibrations out there.
Yeah, projection is a thing.
Yeah.
And so I think, if you've been lucky enough to practice certain physics and see them to be true, nobody could ever tell you differently. And then it's so beautiful, the formula for happiness or health or getting out of that pattern of emotionalism or negativity or looking at the problem. But all of the greats only ever focused on the solutions. it is really easy to allow our bias and our personal experiences. It will always affect our perception, like, so it's inevitable. But even just recognizing that is a huge step right there, you know?
Huge. Yeah.
So the willingness to know that, to be transparent enough with yourself to be like, oh, that will occur, and then now maybe I can change if I want to, you know.
And how has life been since you've had that sort of commitment to health and positivity?
Yeah, it's good. I feel like I kind of stopped aging once that happened. I feel so much younger and healthier all the time. I feel the youngest I've ever felt. You know, I'm like in my 40s now,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And I feel like it's the setting for youth. I'm not sure. But I feel blessed, and the reciprocity of love is definitely real, you know.
And it's amazing to me because my life has changed so much since I made that conscious effort to not hide my kindness.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say this though, environments matter.
Yeah.
I just kind of moved back to the area, and I was in an environment for an extended period of time that not every was always the kindest environment, and I believe in existing in places where kindness, gets kindness is the way. And but being too hard on ourselves for being in an environment, the byproduct of our environment, like that's going to happen no matter what, will allow us to see the changes that we might need to make to be the best versions of ourselves, right? So, but we all have our unique strengths and our unique capacities and abilities. So, like, if you throw a tiger in the middle of the ocean, it might not do that well. It doesn't mean it's not a tiger.
Yeah.
If you try to drive a Ferrari up in the mountains on this huge gravel road, that's like, doesn't mean that it's not a Ferrari. It's just not in the environment that's cohesive with it. So once you find the right road, find the right environment, then you really start to understand your strengths and how to embrace them, and then to be that unrestricted, closest, most genuine version of yourself, perhaps.
And was there something along the way that sort of shifted your focus towards this?
I worked at. There's a lot of things, Definitely going through pain when I was younger, learning the opposite, learning what I don't necessarily want to be. Having examples of that was a really big part of it. But I was blessed enough to work with a company for a long time where I got to be in a medium of sorts, I suppose, and learn that reciprocity is real. Not everybody necessarily has those opportunities or environments where, but for me particularly, I worked for Dutch Bros for a long time, and I just built so many strong relationships genuinely with people that I just never would even understand that level of life exists. I didn't hug until I was like 23, probably. And just adding those elements to life, you're like, I was never even alive before. Being in fear, being in pain, or being hateful and wanting harm for others, or laughing at the misfortunes of others. It's just so liberating to not have any of that. So for me, and this doesn't go without observation because it's a really important key component, but unconditionally positive dialogue, internal, for me, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But like I said, observational is important. So observing reality for what it is in the best form that I can see. But it's just for me personally, it's all the weight off the shoulders. It's all the freedom that you can ever have in life. And so that the more that I felt like I had practiced those things, the more that I feel I've felt them, and the more I've felt liberated, and just the weight off of my shoulders. And so it's like learning languages for me. The more you do it, the more you get drawn into it, the more that it's compounding the more it's comprehensive that you understand. Oh, yeah, this is what's up. This is real. This is pure physics, and it's beautiful. And I would never choose anything other than that after, because I remember the pain I felt when I was younger. I remember the grossness, don't mind that word, of detesting, of judgment, of all of that. And it just really does add so many layers of weight to your life. And so, I don't ever like really mean to be a Karen or whatever name you might want to put there, but but it is hard once you've practiced something. You want to gift it to others, right? So that's, I feel like the least obtrusive way that I could do that and perhaps benefit the life of others is through music.
And I can appreciate that so much because, like, I feel the same way about the podcast that I'm doing. Like, it gives me the opportunity to be that way. Yeah, and I relate to what you're saying so much, like, because, like, I also recognize that if it wasn't for the trauma and the life experiences that I have, I don't know if I would be as good today
Yeah, yeah,
as I am.
yeah. Curious paradox.
Yeah, yeah. And quite frankly, I'm happy with who I am today.
And it's so strange too, right? Because I would never wish those pains on others.
Right. Yeah.
But I love the art from others,
Yeah.
and I don't would ever never want to take those possibilities away from them. But I never would wish my kids some of the things that I went through to create the me that I'm proud of. So that's a curious irony as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That was going to hit me like all night. That's interesting.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
an interesting dichotomy because you're absolutely right. Like, you want the best for your children. You don't want them to have to go through the pain and agony that you went through. And at the same time, you appreciate the life lessons of the pain and agony you went through. And like, oh, how do you? Ooh.
Yeah. Right. Definitely understanding trauma and the physics of trauma is the thing. So I think there's a way to go through struggles in life that don't necessarily cause hindering traumatic experiences that are degenerative to our health necessarily. So that's just, I think, the best I could wish for like our future generations is maybe a little bit less painful version, perhaps, and not non-trauma based versions of that. But life is amazingly gray. Everything is unlimited variables of experience, and so
And the only constant in life is change.
yeah, yeah. I think allowing our evolution of spirit and willingness to understand the physics of human relations, it's been wonderful. I think we've come a long way, but with one end of the spectrum grows the other as well. So I think as we approach mindfulness and conscientiousness of understanding the true physics of human relations, so too does grow those that want to completely deny it.
Yeah.
And not give accountability or credibility to things in like narcissistic relationships or projectionism, all of the things. And so that also creates another curious cognitive dissonance within myself, at least, is, not judging others at all for maybe not necessarily discovering some of the same things, for carrying hate, not becoming a cynic because of cynics, if that makes any sense.
It does, actually. It makes a lot of sense. And then, because I think about it, like, when you're talking about, like, being in the woods and, like, the musical piece with the one note, for example, right? And I'll only circle back to that because I can see a lot of meditative properties in that. And how you can, like, get clearer thoughts from a journey like that than if you were to try to go the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. Because nature allows you to be your complete, genuine self, and as opposed to environments, we're obligated to change every moment to what's occurring. Reacting source. So out there, for me, I'm able to. But it's interesting because sometimes in complete and utter reactivity in the moment, sometimes that is my genuine self, and sometimes my the way I crave adrenaline rush, like I feel like that's the most genuine me, right? But I think that's a little bit different than some of our reactivity that we have. But so too, like I keep coming back on the theme is life being an interesting paradox, but it truly is. I feel my most self when I'm still completely, and then I feel my most self when I'm obligated to think in the moment, like mountain biking in the forest to miss trees, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm there. I'm not anywhere else. I'm obligatorily reactive, and so it's interesting that yeah, I could feel the most genuine in both of those. But also a Gemini, so not to generalize, not to generalize. No, it's
Right.
no, but yeah, yeah. So I mean, biggest hypocrite that exists, uh, exists on both sides always of the human experience. No.
I don't think it's hypocritical. I think it's just human.
And honestly, I feel like that's how I've been able, for me, to feel my most growth is is being willing enough to see that. And sometimes it takes a moment to realize our hypocrisy, but what's more or less insightful ever than our own hypocrisy? I feel like the willingness to be vulnerable and transparent enough to see ourselves for our own hypocrisy is the most insightful thing that we could go through and grow from.
Yeah, I actually had somebody tell me the other day that they are not interested in self reflection. And my only thought was like, you poor human being.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, how could you go through life without introspection? Like, but
Yeah,
apparently a lot of people do.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. That kind of not quite the same. It reminds me of an experience that I had with someone who said that they didn't believe in speaking Spanish or other languages in America, which is the thing. But it just seems kind of parallel with the unwillingness to grow, the mindful unwillingness to grow, because that takes mindfulness to not, it's not an accident. It's not like oops. It's like no, I'm consciously not learning this. I'm consciously not growing here. But then also, like we were saying previously, is the challenge of life is not judging that person, not becoming a cynic because of that. Because some of those things can feel pretty not great to me,
Yeah.
and I still love that person just as much, and so are some of the challenges of life, and so are some of the necessary removals that I go through to keep loving the people, keep loving people. Sometimes I have to remove myself in order to keep loving them.
And that's one of the hardest decisions I think in life to make. Especially because and sometimes it's like the most vital for your own self care.
No, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
delicate, but forever changing. So I believe all of us, but myself particularly. Yeah, moments I need everybody, moments I need only myself, and like I have to be away, But centering occurs with our self right after growth, after pain, after learning. It doesn't always happen in that moment, right? So when we're out in the world learning, gaining experience, doing all of the things, we're absorbing, but we're not necessarily growing yet. We're being broken down, but then going to ourself after the fact allows that time to grow from it for me personally, to let it all settle in, to let all the unnecessary noise settle and take away my true growths and strengths that are timeless from those experiences. Yeah, and so that duality right there definitely is part of my existence, and not the easiest thing to work through, right?
It's not the easy, and yet at the same time, it's so freeing once it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the amount of time I used to spend worrying and the amount of time I
Yeah.
used to spend dreading this and dreading
I
that, and
know.
like all of that is sort of like on the wayside now because
Mhm.
it's like, what can I learn from this? What can I do from this? How can I improve my situation based on this information? And once you've done that, you can let everything else go.
Yeah.
And it's such a sigh of relief.
Yeah. The ability to see everything as an opportunity in disguise, perhaps. Um, it does definitely help lifting the weight, you know, to know that you can create any positive byproduct from any of that stuff. You feel more confident in life, and for me, increased longevity.
And then if I do want to circle back to the music for a little
Yeah.
bit because like one of the things I'm curious about because you said you moved away and you moved back to Salem.
Hmm.
What are the venues like now compared to when you were here before?
Oh yeah, yeah. I still got to get out there a little bit. To be honest, I haven't been back too long, but I did come and play music periodically when I was out of town. So
Oh, good.
I would travel here, and that was part of what I really enjoyed. Generally speaking, though, I feel like post-COVID world, after a while, after things settled a bit, everyone was just so thirsty for music, thirsty for art and expression and just human connection generally, right? So I it's definitely a different world because when I lived up here previously, it was pre-COVID, pre a lot of world occurrences.
Yeah.
We've changed as a people, as a world, so much since I've lived here previously. But I find that the spirit remains. I feel amazingly blessed always, and just amazed at uh, how welcoming the human spirit can be. So I still feel that here, and when I play places, I still feel that. And why would I ever want to live another life? you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I'm excited to. I booked a couple gigs at Red Hawk Winery in West Salem next month. I used to regular there quite frequently, and so the people were always wonderful there. And
It's such a cool venue too.
yeah, right. You get to see overlook Salem, and you can see the mountain in the background, and people are always in pretty good spirits, most definitely. So I'm excited to go back there. There's different owners now, so I'll get to see how that environment has adjusted, and whenever I'm whenever I'm back, I can express on how those things go. But yeah, no, I think the creativity of the events that we have now has changed, right? Where like I played a pop-up selfie museum event, right?
Okay, that sounds epic.
Right. And I think it was put on by I apologize in the words of this, the Salem Business Journal, or Salem,
I think that's right. Yeah,
and
that'll kill me too. So
and
it's okay.
Hilltop Real Estate
Okay.
Agency, I believe. But it was like the old J.C. Penney's downtown, right? I think a lot of people may have gone to the event. So it's like this old abandoned business that's huge. That
Yeah.
was just for that particular event, brought in visual artists and musical artists, and so I think the creativity at which we create events now has changed since when I was previously up, and I think the COVID life experience really showed us our malleability.
Yeah.
We can do anything. We can create anything, and right. So, interesting events that we would have never have perhaps thunk of previously. You see a lot more of those type of things occurring, and so it's fun. I don't know. I'm curious to see what life brings. All of the fun shenanigans that I might get myself into, and yeah, yeah. I think it's a beautiful journey for sure. Um,
And so as you're on stage, right, and the evening is unfolding, do you like sort of change the music that you have based on what you're feeding from the audience?
Yeah, I would say a combination of that and me, myself, what I'm feeling as well. But most definitely, I like to try to create happiness in others, and sometimes that doesn't look like happiness, right? But usually, as nights progress, depending on the venues that I'm playing, I've developed a relationship with people, and so it takes a couple songs for people to get to know me typically, and usually by 5 songs, everybody is like, "Oh, okay, all right, I understand what's going on now." Okay, and so it is really. I love seeing the evolution throughout the night of those that occurred, and and they always go different ways, you know. Uh, and catering to those accordingly, to those particular individuals that may be there or the moments that we've shared. Okay, so this might be hard for me to say. I don't know if I can share this. I had a couple.
You can always share and then text me and tell me whether or not this can be on the air,
Yeah,
and then I will delete it straight from this conversation
yeah,
if you don't have permission.
sounds good. Um, yeah, no, I like to do this sort of thing, go off of what I'm feeling in the moment. Sometimes I have inklings that I answer, and whenever that happens, that's when interesting synchronicities in life occur that I could have never have planned. So I was just one example. I'm playing a winery. It's in southernish Oregon, and a couple that comes to see me play periodically is there, and they're great. I love them. They're awesome. I consider them good friends of mine, and so they came particularly to come watch me play. And I think I'd been playing at least an hour, maybe hour 10, and then I just felt like I was meant to dedicate a song to them all of a sudden. And I hadn't spoken with them, but I saw them. And so, because they were there, because I felt that moment, because I felt something with them, I felt compelled to play that particular song, right? Evolution throughout the night as it goes. And then they came up to me afterwards and they told me that they were crying during the song because it was exactly like what they were going through. And I didn't understand. I didn't know they were going through things, health issues. There's a few lyrics in the song that were exactly the health issues that were going on, and, and that was the last time that I saw my friend. He had passed, and the the lines in the song are like I didn't even know I didn't know he was sick, and to say exactly what happened in the lyrics in the song, I just feel rude expressing like saying the lyrics, but I will. There's a line that's I'm gonna love you till my lungs give out. I promise till death do part, like in our vows. And man, that's what happened. Great person. And so the journey that music brings me on is interesting, and I love it, and I love people, and it's deep sometimes, and it's too much for me to take sometimes. And so that's why I'm here to me, I believe, answer those little callings, answer those inklings, any opportunity to contribute to the lives of others. But that's just one example of evolution throughout the night of playing, responding to the environment that's going on, but in a genuine manner. That, yeah, I don't know, a little bit. That's a little heavy, but
But it's beautiful, right? And what I take away from that is it's so rare on this planet to be seen and to give people the gift of being seen for that moment in time and that precious gift
yeah, no,
is is freaking
I
amazing.
totally agree, and that's
Amazing.
That's how I exactly feel. That's all I ever want to gift somebody is the ability to be seen, right?
Yeah.
Like even if you smile at somebody that you could tell they just need some eye contact, you know, being seen is everything. And so I only wish that everybody has the opportunity to exist in an environment where they are and feel seen, because then they can truly be their most radiant selves.
And it's a beautiful thing when you're able to show your radiant self.
When it, yeah, when you're able to see others show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, I think of, like, so many. So I operate a support group for adults on the spectrum. And I have seen through the years of doing that and my volunteerism for adults on the spectrum, that gift when somebody who's neurodivergent can just be themselves in an environment where they would otherwise have to mask and pretend to be somebody completely different is the biggest, most joy
Yeah,
I
right.
have in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to do the things that I still feel I allow myself to do them.
Yeah.
I used to, before I understood, I used to call it embracing my nerdism. Because it was like one point in time in my life, I remember I'm like, I just have to be me. Like, I just have to. And so I'm going to read a lot. I'm going to go study and hyper focus on languages, you know, and be alone for a long time doing those things. And I stand funny now, you know. I let myself stand cross-legged in ways that I wouldn't allow when I was younger. I'll do this all the time in certain ways, and like even my mom's making fun of me about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I noticed that you've been doing that." I'm like, I'm just finally allowing myself to be myself, you know, and like we keep saying, that's really all you wish for anybody, right?
Yeah. How many languages do you speak now?
Badly, all of them, poorly, because everything's gray, right? So you never just know everything in a language. You
Yeah.
don't know everything in English, every word, right? I put a lot of time in a number of languages that I feel rude saying. I put a lot of work into 10 or 11 languages. 5 are a lot more functional for me out of those, and then like 4 to 3 are increasing or more so out of those as well. But I'm still growing in each one all the time as well. I tried to not try. I hyper focused each one individually first to understand structural integrity as much as I have, at least, you know, verb conjugation, thought formulation, and that sort of thing before I moved on to the next.
Yeah.
And then once I did that with all of them, now I allow myself to go one day and study this and go another day and study this, or I'll like listen to Spanish and read Brazilian Portuguese and mix it. You know, particularly if I have a target language that I want to acclimate my hearing to, and maybe I know visually a different language. And so there's just so many tools that we have to from which to learn. And so I love doing that with languages, absolutely. And to test the boundaries of our learning capacities and the ways in which we're shown and learn information, I think are so vital to the process of that growth of information. So learning languages, I only feel like I can do what I can do because of the process I was shown. So a lot of people I know, they credit me more than I deserve for having a brain that works a certain way for it. But really, it's just to me the way that I was shown the information, and so too is most everything. And so being like neurodivergent wise, you know, being graceful with ourselves to understand the ways in which we learn is the most valuable things we can gift ourselves.
And have you ever thought about writing a song in a different language?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love doing that. I love singing. I sing in other languages all the time. That's my favorite to do.
Oh, that's so
it's
awesome.
It's such a like a consolidation of interests, you know, and of and comprehensive work too, right?
Yeah.
Like I spent so much time here, so much time here, and then after so much work, I can bring them together. What? That's crazy. Uh, so I don't know. I really enjoy it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, guess I can diversify a little bit more and not every, read the room type thing
Yeah.
situation. But I love a diverse world. I love that I can play wineries and sing one song in Spanish, sing the next song in French, then rap a Macklemore song, and then play Stevie Wonder, and then play If I Only Had a Brain from 1939, but like a Harry Connick Jr. version.
That is epic.
How cool of a world is it, right?
That is epic.
Because you go to a winery and there's all sorts of everywhere, all sorts of different people, like age wise, background, however the background is, nature nurture background, and so I really like to see what boundaries I can push as far as mixing up the genres I might play within one day.
Did, so I'm trying to absorb this, right? Because that last part is, I just think that's the coolest thing ever. Like, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, I didn't.
It's just like, I want this in a
We never,
Harry
we never
kind of.
come up with the best ideas,
Yeah.
right? Like, because if we tried to come up with them, they couldn't. They just are.
Yeah.
It's like the sand settling. We can never try to plan where all the grains of sand settle. If we did, like the only reason that they landed the way they are is because we have no control over it. And so too, I think for me, yeah. But it's just learning life and the beautiful insight that we get as we experience things. But I think, yeah, I think experience is how I learned that. Just and Dutch Bros too, right? Just being in an environment where I can find common ground with everybody. You have a medium to practice that and to see that it's real, and then once you create those connections, you only want to contribute and positive manners and make everybody feel welcome and seen. And so that's my attempt at that, at having everybody be seen and welcome, because it just feels so great to see like, an 82-year-old smile really big over here from like "Don't Fence Me In" or something, and then speak Spanish to somebody that doesn't speak English because they're excited about the song that I might have just played because they knew it and they're singing along with it, and that's really cool for me. Like I'm like, what? That's great. Like, and every moment too, if I'm for myself, it's growth as well. 'Cause singing in other languages for me is curious, as in I use it to help me grow in those languages as well. So I might learn vocabulary, like maybe I'll learn 3 new words in a song, and it's stored there forever now.
Yeah.
And so if I need a reference point to go back to it, it's there in my head. And so every single time I play the song, I visualize every single word I say and what it means. And so every single time I play a song in another language, I know those words better. They grow every single time, and it's re-solidified because I actually picture everything that I'm saying. So it's kind of selfish in that manner, right? I'm like allowing myself to grow and do something for myself while I'm also trying to be there and contribute.
I really like that. And we have been at this for over an hour.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. Where can people go to hear your music?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely have a lot to work on as far as that goes. That's part of me coming back up to the Salem area and being in an environment where I feel seen. And yeah. I have so much music to record that I'm really excited about. I would probably say within the next month, I'm planning on recording a lot of that new music that I've created.
I love it.
Yeah. There's so much too, and so I mean, I think I'll probably keep it relatively simple for a while. But the typical platforms, I do have old stuff on Spotify, and then really old YouTube videos, But I have a lot up in here that I plan on undoing. I'm excited about. So I mean, my name's Buddy Paprock. You can really kind of search and find any platform. If you just search my name really anywhere, whether it's Spotify or any of the other platforms, I suppose. obviously, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Buddy Paprock. Yeah, yeah. And then let's see. This Thursday, I'm playing a Kaiser Chamber of Commerce event at Empire Fitness.
Oh, nice.
I'm not amazingly familiar with everything in that event, but that's 5:30 to 7 if it did happen to be public. And that's in Kaiser. That's this Thursday. And then I'm excited to play next month at Red Hawk Winery. That's going to be the 18th and the 19th of October. I believe a Saturday and a Sunday from 1 to 4 those days. So feel free to come check that out to get an idea of who I am and and the things that I find beautiful in life, I suppose.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'll end the show like I always end the show, people. We all live on the same planet. We share the same air. Be kind, and this world will be a better place.
I couldn't say it better.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Happy to be here.
So we're back because I'm an idiot, and he said he would be willing to play before he left. So we're back because I couldn't say no.
Yeah, yeah. And while I'm here, I mean, I might as well be myself, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'll just pick a random one, I suppose.
Yeah. I think pick a random one, and then I think that one note one that you're talking about is the second one would be epic.
Make sure I didn't unplug anything important.
No, we're good.
But okay, and then as far as this back a little bit, you think, or
Probably. I'm going to say...
kinda dual
Yep.
it. I'll just be casual because these arms of the chairs, maybe I can get a percussion going on.
Right?
Not even kidding, all of the trouble we've been getting in. Pop metaphorical bubbles and raisins. It's a damn fun way to start off the weekend. Might take me 10 times before I even get it right. I'll break a bottle or two before the end of the night. The learning curve is why it might take a minute to sink in. Over might not be what you've been waiting for. Times might find me begging you for more. I'm just hard. Never hit this hard. Could hit this hard. But sometimes the sun is shining and my heart is a blooming rose. She medication and the sensation reaches my toes. And the blood flow is not slow. My heart pumps and pumps as fast as it can go. And I'm only running on a little bit of fuel from last night. Haven't made the bed quite yet. She be looking at me, but I'm cross-eyed. She'll be pulling me into the flame, but when I get there, it's a flashlight. I'm never gonna be the same. This all just became a past life. I know might not be what you've been waiting for. At times might find me begging you for more. I just a masochist at heart. But could hit this hard. Could hit this hard. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm what you've been waiting for. That's my fight, begging you for more. I'm just a masochist at heart. Never no one could hit this hard. Could hit this hard.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Appreciate it.
Do you want to play the other one then?
Yeah, yeah. This other one's different energy about it for sure. But I wrote this a couple, maybe about a month and a half ago off of that concept of starting from something simple. And so it's still in that simple form for the most part. But I do kind of enjoy what became of it. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Because it's not, like I love fun chords and it's nice to just like. Just that triad right there. It's nothing special. It's super basic. I say, can you ever really get too much of a good thing? But then, before I knew it, I was running barefoot in the gravel. And yeah, these holsters on my heart are bound to break. I refuse to believe that it's all left art to fake. But if I push you away with this, then I know it was probably out of love, but confused by you. But I've been willing to stay, though I can't live my truth. Every minute been giving myself up, bad ambition diminishing my blood. All of a sudden I don't give a about you. Keep it coming and going, all that love, starving artists and partisan in blood. But that just ain't the man I am. I need you and me, but instead I wear these scars like jewelry. Like jewelry. Even though I know you tore my heart, hard to break the cycle when it started. A little bit of blood never scared me at all. In fact, it's kind of tempting. Broken hearted to breathe. But if I push you away with this, then I do. It was probably out of love, but confused by you. But I've been willing to stay, though I can't live my truth. Every minute been giving myself up, bad ambition diminishing my blood. All of a sudden I don't give a fuck about you. Keep it coming and going, all that love, starving artists and partisan in blood. But that just ain't the man I am. I need unity, but instead I wear these scars like jewelry. Like jewelry. I said, can you ever really get too much of a good thing? And before I knew it, I was running barefoot in the gravel.
Okay, I love that one. I love that one.
So that's what I mean. It came from just like simplicity to me, like of something that I would have never allowed when I was younger and trying to be overcomplicated, right? But I really appreciate the product of allowing that simplicity,
And it kind of matches perfectly with the words.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Don't mind the tuning a little bit.
Well, buddy, thank you so much. Again, people, be kind. I love it. This has been epic.
I appreciate you.
Oh, man, this is awesome.
Love you, brother.